Hello everyone, it is Joe here from OmniPoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon. If you're looking for PTCGO codes, including the stuff from Darkness Ablaze, make sure you go ahead and check out the Potown store. You can get a 5% discount on your orders using the code OmniPoke. For today's video, we're going to be going over the Champions Path set, which is coming out in late September. I think it's the 25th, which is the release date. A lot of people are excited about this for the collecting reasons, and let's be honest, this is mostly, a celebratory collector set. It's a very small set for us. I think it's sub 80 cards, like 79 cards or so. And that means there's, because of a lot of reprints and stuff going on, there's not actually that many cards that are going to have a huge impact on the standard format. So rather than doing the normal big PowerPoint sort of spreadsheet, I wanted to go through the cards today with you guys. There's also the stuff from Shocking Volt Tackle, and I even haven't yet done the Legendary Heartbeat cards. So next few videos over the couple of days probably going to be my first impressions of those Japanese scans. I've got them ready to rumble, so I'm going to be bashing them out today. But we will start with the Champions Path stuff, because that is going to be coming around the corner just in a couple of weeks' time. So I'm going to jump down to the trainer cards and talk through those first. Most of these are reprints, so we don't really need to talk too much about these. The only thing I will say is I think it's really good that more and more people are going to have easy access to the likes of Marnie and Professor's Research, more access to peers as well. I think those are really the only cards that are really notable. The rest of the cards are pretty basic. Rotum Phone, we're finally getting this card. Now there is some synergy with Oranguru, where you can look at the top 5 and then choose the best one and then instantly access the card through that Oranguru. We still continue to see a bit of Jirachi usage in the format, but this is a potential different engine to something like that. We've seen how ADP in the past has gone down routes of like Order Pad and stuff like that to try and get that more consistent turn 1. Rotum Phone, if you're playing like double Oranguru in ADP-zation going forward, may actually be a useful card for trying to hit that combo piece here and there. I think it's far, far worse than flipping a coin on Order Pad, because it's like 50% of the time you're just there, and Rotum Phone is just a 5-card dig, and you already need to have access to Oranguru, so there's a lot more things going on. But as a combination piece card, if you're already playing Oranguru, this is like kind of interesting to me, especially because it doesn't say like trainer card or anything like that. It's just any card at all. So maybe if you're looking towards like Mad Party or something, when you're looking to find your next Triple Acceleration or Twin Energy, anything like that, if you're combining Oranguru with it, it could be really a cool combo of Rotum Phone. So I think it's slightly underpowered, to be honest, but it gives us a like alternative option to that Jirachi engine. So at the moment, it's like you're either playing like just a high support account, Crobat, Dedenne, Eldegoss, or you're playing Jirachi engine. And now we have like double Oranguru Rotum Phone is like another sort of pseudo budget one prize kind of deal. And if ADP-zation continues to just be like trying to like gust game kind of thing, maybe having a one prize engine like this in more decks could be an interesting option. So yeah, I think it's an interesting card. I don't think it's particularly that strong though. It's gonna be fun to experiment with, I guess. Because obviously I'm having flashbacks of Trainer's Mail. T-Mail was like a nuts card, and this is in theory like a more universal T-Mail, but it's comboed with Oranguru. Not necessarily that bad, because Oranguru's good throughout the game anyway, as we've seen at like protecting researchers and stuff like that. So yeah, interesting combo card, and maybe useful. Let me know what you guys think about the Rotum Phone. Strange Canned Food, allowing you to heal 80 damage from a Psychic Pokemon that has... a Pokemon that has Psychic Energy attached to it, I should say. Then discard that Psychic Energy. At the moment, Mewtwo is the only deck that's playing Psychic Energy cards with like horrors and stuff. I don't feel this heal is useful enough because there's too much damage going around in the format. I feel 80 is very rarely going to be enough damage. There's the theory that this can be like used in the Gardevoir VMAX that we'll look at in a moment, but I'm pretty sure Gardevoir VMAX is very, very poor. So yeah. Then we have full arts and stuff like that. So obviously Rainbow Rares of this set, just real quick, from like a collector standpoint, there are 5 Rainbow Rares in the set, 3 of them being VMAXs, which means just like out the gate, this Charizard VMAX is probably going to be a much higher pull rate than Burning Shadows Charizard, even Breakzard from Cosmic Eclipse. So hopefully it's going to be an easy Charizard pull. So that's cool. I mean, we just all have access to this guy. Obviously, it's a very expensive Japanese card because its release is very different. But it should be a decent chase card for us, but not too difficult, and probably won't break the bank just like some of the previous Charizards, I want to say. We have no idea about the pull rate of this shiny Charizard. I like just instinctively, because we only have one gold card in the strange canned food from Champion's Path. I want to say it's going to be on a similar pull rate, which is to say it's like between 2 and 3 boxes per one of these cards. Like either you hit the Charizard or you get some canned food, which is kind of lame. But yeah, this may be a bigger chase card than the Rainbow Rare. I instinctively think this will probably be a more rare card, but I also think it'll be more desired of a card as well, because you can already get this exact same artwork in the non-rainbow form from Darkness Ablaze. Yes, you can get this artwork from the promo ETB, but it's a shining card, and we know that collectors like shiny Charizards. Anyway, small tangent on what I like feel pull rates and stuff will be like for those cards, because ultimately this is, you know, more of a collector set than a player set. We'll jump to the top though and look at any cards that we haven't yet seen in the TCG. We've got Venusaur V. He's a grass type. He can do 80 and Sleep Poison. Sleep can combine with Slumbering Forest if you really want it to, but there's so many switching outs going on in the format right now. Status is like a bit of a joke, to be honest. And 220 for 4 isn't efficient, even with Rillaboomer trying to help you out. We've got a Beedrill that really does nothing. We get a nice Eldegoss reprint. Now, Eldegoss isn't exactly an expensive card anyway, because Rebel Clash is not really a loved set or anything like that. Not many people are opening it anymore. But yeah, this keeps the price down, I guess. So yeah, a second chance for you guys to get an Eldegoss, which is pretty cool. We've got an Incineroar V. This is actually one of the cards I'm most excited about. It's a 220 hit point basic V Pokemon that has Grand Flame for Fire colors. You do 90 and attach 2 energy cards or fire energies from your discard pile to one of your benched Pokemon. I think this has a lot of potential in Welder Box based decks, but also Mewtwo based decks. Because Mewtwo, as we know, used to rely on a Solgaleo GX quite a lot just to do that Turbo Strike option. So you powered up one threat and then you're also powering up one in the back. I feel that's something that's really lacking in Mewtwo right now. And doing a 90 damage poke, obviously enough to get over Jirachis. It's enough to put things like Tag Team Pokemon in range. Even Vs turning into V Maxes can be put in much easier range for Mewtwo attacks, so you don't necessarily have to spend your GX attack on Mewtwo to take a knockout. So I think this Incineroar will potentially have homes in both of those decks. Obviously, that out-the-gate 90 is very good for a lot of fire-based decks as well. That 90 can go into the 220 if he's not dealt with. The Flare Driver doing 220 and 30 to yourself, that's not too bad. But also just the fact that you can end your turn on having 5 energies into play. Similar to how we've seen Flare Starter be used. You Welder, you Flare Starter, you end on 6 energies. Here you can Welder, attach, and Grand Flame, putting 2 fires from your discard pile onto your Pokemon, but also doing that 90 damage pressure. And to me, that's a lot better than Volcanion doing like no pressure at all, even though the extra energies attached. Your energies are on a safer Pokemon, because Incineroar is just bigger in general, and you're pressurizing things. You're knocking out Jirachis or other setup Pokemon, you know. At the same time, you are getting those energies into play, and if people are gusting around Incineroar to deal with a thing that you've just powered up in the back, you've at least got this guy to fall back on. So I think he's really, really good for the fire decks, to be honest. I think he's going to be a really good include, even if he is just like a 1 or 2 counts. Very good early game card, I feel. And pretty efficient at just being a finisher as well, like late game. This could give fire decks a better defensive option now, I think, in the late game as well. Because if you fall short on, like, I don't know, a Baby Blown attack, or fall short on a Heatran GX attack or something, sometimes the fire decks just kind of concede because they can't win a race anymore. But now you could, like, finish something off with Incineroar whilst then resetting that big attack for later down the line. Like, you're repowering up your next Blound, you're powering up a Cramorant on the bench or something like that. It could give you an option to play, like, Stamps in a Welder deck as well, which I know Mewtwo's already done that, but the Welder box decks haven't really done that too much. But I think that Incineroar is low-key kind of cool. I'll definitely be trying him out. We've got some Sharpedo stuff that doesn't matter too much. We've got a chonky Whalelord, 280 hit point basic. For 1 water, you get to do Pump Up, attach 3 water from your discard pile to this Pokemon, which is, like, pretty good, actually. Like, why not? Seeing as though your tag team hit points on a 2-prize Pokemon, you can just go ahead and whip those all onto him. Ocean Wave does 120. Well, you flip 3 coins and 120 times each heads you get. So with Glimwood Tangle in play, like you can kind of expect this to be 240 a decent amount of times. So it's actually not bad, you know. This guy's so thick as well. Like he's actually really big. I think this card's not too bad. Lightning weakness is actually pretty reasonable as well in the format now. Yeah, like of course there's meme potential behind him, and yes, you're still flipping coins, and you're still going to be like Frostmoth based probably, because you can't always just rely on pump up to then start smashing. But an early game pump up option means that you can just go like bucket, research, and then like pump up to end your turn, which means you don't need to find that early game snom so much. So all you need really is like a few Whalelords, maybe like a Keldeo GX in your deck, maybe a few other of those like tech Pokemon that we've seen in the water decks from Inteleon, and you're probably just going to be like getting on the board faster. I think the downside is you're going to have to commit to Glimwood Tangles in your deck, because you can't just rely on these 3 coin flips, but it's actually like not horrific. And if you actually get the high roll, you just win on the spot, right? If you actually hit 360 on any turn into a VMAX card, like you just win instantly, surely. Yeah, I think we're actually going to be flipping some coins soon. Whalelord's okay. Alright, Dreadnought. He's chonky, but his attack is pretty poor. Same for the VMAX, really. I don't really see a reason to play this card over like Inteleon or Lapras too much. It's more coin flip stuff. 240 is not a bad number, but yeah, I don't see a big workaround there. Gardevoir V and VMAXed. Straight away, they're weak to metal, so you have to be a Cynic, like, out the gate. 120 and 80 more if you healed any damage from this Pokemon during your turn. There's a few ways you can do that. Obviously, canned goods, but how are you getting this many energies onto a Gardevoir in the first place? And there's a few other ways you can try and heal damage as well. Tons of ways, actually, but I don't really think that's the problem. 3 for 200 isn't that efficient when you don't have the same acceleration that other archetypes have. So I think that's very poor. And then 3 energy for 180. Again, just super below the bar. We've got Inteleon that can do a lot more damage. We've got Dragapult that can do more damage for less attachments as well. Or the same amount of damage, I should say, for less attachments. So yeah, and the heal of 50 is not relevant enough. So I think the Gardevoir is very, very weak, which is a shame. We've got a Hatterene that confuses stuff, but who cares about confusion? Like I said with the Venusaur, status is a bit of a meme. Galarian Obstacle V, 190 hit point basic psychic type, weak to dark, which comes with its own headaches. That being said, Eternus just kills like everything anyway. It just means they don't have to draw quite as well. Whenever your opponent attaches energy from their hand to their Pokemon, put 3 counters on that Pokemon. I don't think we have enough energy removal for this to be like a damage type thing where you're trying to just like stall this whole time using Hallow Missile and using like Yell Grunts and Hammers every single turn. I don't think it's like reliable enough. We've seen some control decks sort of come out the woodwork with Excadrill being the new face, obviously Oranguru rotating. But I mean, they are Crushing Hammer based, but most of them are playing like the 1 Yell Grunt, so it's not really the same as old Cincino Mill that played like the full 4 copies of Yell and tried to just like stop your opponent doing stuff over and over again. And those 3 damage counters just aren't enough of a headache if you're like eventually letting your opponent get through, because all the damage you're racking up with Eating Aura is like damage that you could be doing with better attacks because Hallow Missile is so weak, right? You do 60 and 3 counters to your opponent's Pokemon, so like it's so underwhelming that the ability is like offsetting the weak attack, but it doesn't like add up to being a really good card. Alcremie is another VMAX again. These fairy types being weak to metal is just such a pain because I don't see ADP / Luke Metal going away anytime soon. Zacian and Zamazenta combined are just 2 good cards to not see play at the higher tables. You can prevent your opponent's basic Pokemon from attacking. That's fine. It has to be their defending Pokemon so they can just get out of this, so it's fine. Alcremie VMAX does 60 times the number of energy attached to your... Oh, sorry, you discard any number of energy attached to all of your guys. 60 for each energy you discarded, so without the right acceleration, I don't see how this is going to be a chainable attack. 60 multiplier is not too bad. We've seen how Mewtwo uses Blastoise, the Frostmoth Blastoise combo, to do that sort of thing. Obviously, this is discard as well, so there's even more downside. And again, we don't have the same acceleration for Psychic types just yet, so that's very poor. The Decorate attack could be a way that you get like that initial chunk of energies into play, but looking towards like that mid to late game, it's just not going to be good enough. So artwork very strong, the card very, very weak. We have Machamp going on here, which does 20 times the amount of fighting Pokemon in your discard pile. It's a good multiplier, but it's on a stage 2, and it's expensive as well. We have a Lucario V, 210 hit point basic fighting type. For 1 fighting, you do 40 and 20 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Decent early game pressure if you want. It can knock out Galarian Zigzagoon, which is nice, I think. Oh wait, are they weak to grass? Can't remember. Yeah, I think they're weak to grass, right? Okay, so maybe you don't do that. Maybe you're just prodding things. And then you do Beat Smash for fighting colors 180. And you can't use that attack during your next turn. I think this is like underpowered compared to something like Galarian Surfetched. There are probably better like it's good to be a fighting card in the game again because of Eternatus. But I don't really see enough from Lucario to be like, this is fine, because again, just like compare this card to Zacian, where you're doing 180 for 3 instead of 220 for 3, so you're never getting over V Pokemon unless it's like the Dedenes, the Eldergosses, that sort of thing. So yeah, it just feels pretty underpowered compared to that sort of stuff. Other fighting chaps, all looking pretty poor right now. Grapplocked V, again, not too strong. You do 20. If your opponent's basic Pokemon, they can't attack, that's fine. 120, flip a coin to get that potential 220. Again, like, it's way below. Like, I know Zacian's like one of the best V Pokemon that we have, but these cards are like so below that bar. Grapplocked is not going to be all that strong. We have another Galarian Obstacle. This was the one that we thought was going to be in our previous set. We thought this was going to be in Darkness Ablaze, but it was actually pushed back to Champ's Path. I think what we've seen from the evolution of Obstagoon in our current format tells me that this card won't see much play, because pure Obstagoon is never going to be an archetype, and we haven't seen Obstagoon be like a tech include into Eternatus at all. We've only seen it as Zigzagoon nets, which means that this Galarian Obstagoon probably just doesn't have a home, because you're thinning down that stage 2 line already to weave in Desi-goon, or you're just playing Obstagoon with Sableye V potentially, or you're just playing Ziggy Net in whatever you want to play and ignoring the Obstagoon altogether, because Obstruct is a less usable attack in most matchups. So having a bit of hand disruption just isn't really worthwhile, I would say. Not much else going on here. I didn't think there was too many good cards coming out from this set. Busted artwork on the Trubbish, of course. Not too much else to say there. More coin flip attacking Pokemon. We have Duradon V, which is potentially interesting. Obviously, being a metal type is a good deal. 220 hit point base, but also this Pokemon takes 30 less damage from attacks. I'm actually pretty interested in this. This is already like tanky out the gate. You do 10 plus 40 more for each metal attached to this Pokemon. Okay, that's actually an interesting card. 4, 12, 13 base, going up to 17 with an extra attachment on top. This reminds me of the Galarian Stunfisk, but I think this is a better way to play that sort of card. So anyone who's been trying to do Galarian Stunfisk memes can now have a better chance with Duradon V. Again, I think you're probably weaker than just playing Zacians and Zamazentas in a Luke Metal deck. But this guy scales quite well, and he has basically an inbuilt goggles on his head. So if you also have that Luke Metal and then also put goggles on, you're getting a lot of reduction into him, so he can scale quite well. Only downside is it's so expensive to actually knock out like even the lower prize things, that you have to keep committing into him a little bit more over and over again. But maybe just that critical mass of reducing like 60 to 90 a turn, thanks to ability, tool, plus Luke Metal, that when you do like Malolana plays on this guys, it's just like devastating for people. So I'm interested in this card. I think he could be like a one-of in Luke Metal, maybe. So yeah, obviously competing with Zacian ain't easy, because you want to get card advantage for Intrepid Sword with that deck quite a lot, because you don't play the same number of small basics that are then easy prizes for the opponent. You're trying to deny those prizes as much as possible. So it's got some stiff competition, but the card is good in a vacuum, I would say. Altaria is another interesting card from the set. I say interesting, I mean impactful, because obviously it's not that interactive or interesting to play against, but it will probably see some play. It has the Miracle Guard ability, preventing all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's V and GX. Again, V probably will be encompassing VMAX. It's how it's worked on every other card so far when they've labeled that word V. So yeah, it's a Stage 1 version of Decidueye. It also has just that 1 retreat cost, which is potentially reasonable for some hit-and-run style attackers, some wall-type Pokemon. Yeah, again, just an interesting card, right? It's going to see play, surely, right? It's going to make more, like, Greedent-style decks, or whatever you want to call them, be relevant. So, yeah, I think Altaria will probably be a thing. It's going to find a way. Do I think just it hitting 60 a turn to be good enough? No, because you'll get 1v1'd by the 1 prizes too often. I still think that like a Duraludon or whatever in ADP is going to keep this in check quite well. I still think that because it only has 110 hit points, Volcanions and stuff can keep this in check quite well. So there's a lot of ways that the current decks don't necessarily have to change much, because Decidueye is already having enough of a footnote in the format, even if it is just like a tier 2.5, 3 kind of deck. Decidueye, I don't really want to put it above that in a tier list. But I think it's enough. It's seeing enough play for people to actually play counters right now. And Altaria is even more squishy. Yes, you can make more and more Altarias like more easily than you can Decidueyes. So if you're using an attacker, you can eventually just make an Altaria stick later on, like using different 1 prizes to knock out their answers. Then a late game Altaria, scoop up netting everything else that you've seen in the game, could be more valid. And obviously its attack cost is colorless as well, so it's easier to like weave it into decks. So yeah, Altaria is probably going to see some play. I think it's a reasonable card. I think it's most likely going to be in walling decks rather than being like its whole own thing. But yeah, still a couple interesting cards in the set overall. Altaria, Duraludon, I think the Incineroar are the ones that stick out to me. The rest seems pretty underpowered, I want to say. Also, the Whalelord actually seems pretty good. I know we're flipping coins, and I'm like super against that in general, but 1 high roll per game just like wins you that game outright, I want to say, like most of the time. So that's pretty wild. And Water's not a bad type, right? It's like a self-sustaining card as well. Like if your turn 1 is just like Viridian Bucket Research, like you've already got that turn 2 attack guaranteed because Whalelord powers himself up. So you don't actually need to draw well in the early turns to at least flipping coins. So yeah, Whalelord memes incoming pretty soon. So let me know what you guys think about Champions Path. I've personally bought a ton of the ETBs, and I'm going to be buying like one of each of the pin badge sets as well to get that little cute pin badge set going. Obviously, I like to collect, so I'm going to be on the lookout for these Charizards. Hopefully get some openings for you guys on the channel as well. I think Jack will also be opening some cards from the set. I believe there's a holo in every in every pack that you open, similar to Shining Legends, and there's also the chance to get holographic energies as well, so that's a small upside in the reverse holo slot, I believe it is. So yeah, very, very cool stuff. I will be reviewing Legendary Heartbeat and Shocking Volt Tackle very soon, giving you my like first impressions, and you know, I'm not going to do a Champions Path full set review. This was kind of all I wanted to go over because, you know, we mentioned like 4 cards that were of interest, the rest is pretty rubbish, so it would be a very short set review. But let me know what you guys think. Was there anything that I missed? Was there any cards that you're excited for? Are you going to be chasing those Charizards? Let me know down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video tomorrow. Cheers.